What would you do if your wife walked into your parents' living room on Christmas Eve, looked you dead in the eyes, slapped you across the face, and told everyone you gave her an STD? That was my reality. One moment I was the reliable son, carving turkey and laughing with my dad. The next, the entire room turned on me. My mom crying, my sister calling me a liar, my father staring like he didn't recognize the man standing in front of him. My cheek stung, but the hit to my dignity hurt far more. And the cruelest part? She was the one cheating. If you've ever felt betrayed, stick with me, and make sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss what happened next. Let me back up a bit. My parents live in Monument, Colorado, one of those quiet neighborhoods where every house on the street competes with Christmas lights, and my dad still climbs on the roof even though he's too old for that nonsense. You open their front door in December, and it always smells like roasted turkey, cinnamon, and whatever candle my mom went overboard with that year. That house has always been my safe place. I grew up there. Every big win, every big screw-up, somehow ended in that living room with my dad, Daniel, talking me through the facts, and my mom, Linda, crying over the feelings. That's just who they are. Dad is calm, measured. Let's think this through. Mom is all heart, all instinct, no breaks. My older brother Jason is the fixer. My sister Claire is the emotional one, just like Mom. To everyone who knows us, we're the solid family. No drama, no chaos, just steady, boring stability. If you had walked in that night, seen the lights, heard the laughter, you would have sworn nothing ugly could ever touch that house. I used to believe that too, right up until my wife proved me wrong. I didn't marry some stranger off the street. I married a woman I thought I knew better than anyone. I met Marissa in college. She was sharp, funny, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone sit up a little straighter. We dated 3 years, did the broke college couple thing, then finally got married and bought a small place in Colorado Springs. It wasn't much, but it was ours. 4 walls, a leaky faucet, a backyard with dead grass I kept promising to fix. The house we turned into a home. I went into construction, worked my way up to foreman. Long days, early mornings, wrecked back, steady paycheck. My mindset was simple. Keep a roof over our heads, food on the table, and a future we could be proud of. Marissa crushed it in pharmaceutical sales, always dressed sharp, always on the move, bringing in good money too. Friends and family loved to say, "You two are the stable couple, you give us hope." And I believed them. I would have taken a bullet for her. No questions asked. What I didn't know back then was that one day she'd be the one aiming. Looking back, it didn't fall apart overnight. It leaked. A few months before Christmas, Marissa started coming home later and later. At first it was once in a while. Client dinner ran long. Traffic was bad. Stuff you can't really argue with. But then it became a pattern. 9 p.m. turned into 10. 10 turned into "don't wait up." And every single time she walked through that door, she went straight to the shower. No kiss, no hug, no, "Hey, how was your day?" Just dropped her bag, quick "hey," and straight down the hall like she was trying to wash the day off her skin before I could get near her. Her phone started living face down. On the table, on the couch, even in the bathroom. Passcode on, notifications off. If I so much as glanced in its direction, she'd move it. I tried to ask, calmly, "What's going on? You've been different lately." She didn't even look up from the fridge. "It's just work, Rhett." I pushed one more time. "It feels like more than that." That's when she finally snapped her eyes at me and said it. "Stop being paranoid, okay?" And stupid me. I actually wondered if she was right. I had no idea that the moment I started doubting myself, she was already planning how to destroy me. After that paranoid comment, I shut up. Out loud, anyway. Inside, it was loud as hell. I couldn't point to one big thing. It was death by 1,000 little cuts. We'd sit on the couch at night, some show playing we used to watch together, and it felt like I was sitting next to a stranger scrolling her phone, not my wife of 12 years. She'd lean away from me without even noticing. I'd reach for her hand and she'd adjust her hair or grab the remote instead. Tiny stuff. But men feel that. You can tell when your own wife is just gone. There was a point, one random Tuesday, I was paying bills at the kitchen table. She was in the bedroom on another call, and it hit me like a brick. I'm not a husband right now. I'm a roommate who pays for everything. I'd lie in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, asking myself, is this what marriage is supposed to feel like? This empty? This one-sided? But I didn't start a fight. I didn't pack a bag. I did what a lot of men do. I swallowed it, told myself I was overthinking, and kept going. Right into the storm I never saw coming. And I didn't know it yet, but the person standing next to me in that storm was the one holding the match. Christmas Eve started. Normal. That's the part that messes with me the most when I look back. I pulled up to my parents' place in Monument, and the whole street looked like a Christmas catalog. My dad had way too many lights on the house, like always, and I ended up out in the cold with him, fixing a dead strand while he complained about the ladder and the electric bill. Inside, you could hear soft Christmas music, dishes clinking, my mom laughing too loud at something Claire said. It felt familiar, comfortable, the kind of night where nothing truly bad is supposed to happen. Marissa was in the living room when I walked in, sitting on the couch with her legs crossed, phone in her hand. She wasn't really there, though. She was half smirking at the screen, then frowning, typing fast, locking it, unlocking it again. Claire walked by, squeezed my arm and said, "She's such a rock for you, Rhett. You're lucky. You know that?" I forced a smile. My stomach didn't match my face. A few minutes later, I walked past behind the couch and caught it. Marissa hunched over her phone, frantically deleting something, like evidence that could burn. And for the first time that night, the lights in that house didn't feel so warm. What I didn't realize was that whatever she was deleting on that screen was the first spark that would burn my whole family that night. Dinner started like every other holiday. Turkey, mashed potatoes, too many side dishes, everyone talking over each other. I slipped into autopilot, passing plates, cracking small jokes with Jason, nodding along to my dad's stories I'd heard 100 times. On the surface, I was normal Rhett. Inside, I couldn't stop replaying that little moment on the couch. Her thumb hitting delete, her shoulders tense, the way she locked her phone like it was a bomb. Marissa sat across from me, glass of red wine in her hand. She wasn't eating much. Every few minutes she'd get up, disappear into the kitchen to check on the pies, but I could see the glow of her phone reflecting off the cabinets. The last time she came back, she looked off, paler, jaw tight. Her eyes were shiny in a way that wasn't just from the wine. My mom finally noticed. "Sweetie, you okay? You look a little pale." The table went a bit quieter. Marissa shook her head, swallowed hard, and then did something I'll never forget. She set her phone down on the table, screen down, like a decision. Then she covered her face with both hands and started sobbing in front of my entire family. In that moment, I had no idea she was about to put a bullet straight through my reputation. Everyone else saw a broken woman. I was the only one who didn't realize yet. I was watching the opening act of her performance. When Marissa started sobbing, everything at the table just stopped. Forks hit plates, chairs creaked. The Christmas music in the background suddenly felt way too loud and way too cheerful for what was happening. Claire slid her chair over, wrapped an arm around Marissa's shoulders. "What's wrong, honey? Talk to us." My mom was already halfway out of her seat, napkin clenched in her hand like she was preparing for a funeral. Marissa shook her head, wiped her eyes, and whispered, "I didn't want to do this tonight." The room leaned in. "I've been feeling disconnected for months, like something's been wrong and I couldn't put my finger on it." That sent a chill straight down my spine, because I'd felt it too. But hearing her say it out loud in front of everyone made it sound like a case she was building. She sniffed, took a breath that felt rehearsed, then looked around the table like she was about to deliver a verdict. "I've been trying to protect him," she said, voice wobbling but loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I can't stay silent anymore." And just like that, I knew whatever came next was going to land on my head. I thought she was just sharing her feelings. I didn't know she was about to announce a crime and pin it on me. After she said she couldn't stay silent, you could feel the whole room tighten. My dad set his fork down. Jason leaned back in his chair. Even the kids at the far end of the table went quiet. Every eye was on Marissa, then slowly drifted toward me, like they already knew where this was going. She stared down at her hands. "I've been having weird symptoms," she said. "Stuff I couldn't ignore anymore." My mom gasped softly. "Oh, honey." "So I went to the doctor last week. They ran tests, a standard panel." She said those words like she'd practiced them in the mirror. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. Marissa reached for her phone, hands shaking just enough for everyone to notice. She unlocked it, scrolled, found whatever she was looking for, then held it like it weighed 100 pounds. "The results came back," she whispered. She took one more breath, then raised her head and fired the shot. "I have herpes, and I've only been with one man for 15 years. The room exploded in silence. Every single head snapped toward me, like the jury turning to look at the man they'd already decided was guilty. In that moment, I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a suspect on trial in my own family. For a second, nobody said anything. It was just the sound of my heart in my ears. I finally managed, "Marissa, let's talk in private. This isn't—" She snapped her head toward me. "No, you've had months to talk in private." That line hit harder than the slap did later. She turned back to the table like she was giving testimony. "All those late nights, all those job sites and early pours, all those weekends you were suddenly working overtime, you think I'm stupid?" My mom's face crumpled. Claire's jaw clenched. "And the trips," Marissa kept going. "The conferences. You'd come home smelling like perfume, jump straight in the shower like you were washing someone else off you." I could feel Claire's eyes burning holes through me. My mom wouldn't even look directly at my face. It was like the verdict had already been read and I'd somehow missed it. "I didn't cheat on you," I said, steady as I could. "I didn't give you anything." She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "Liar!" she screamed. And in that moment, it didn't matter what was true. It only mattered who was louder. What I didn't know was that the next sound in that room wasn't going to come from her mouth. It was going to come from her hand. Right after she yelled, "Liar," the room tilted. Claire stepped in front of her like a bodyguard, putting herself between us. "How could you do this to her, Rhett? She has medical proof." My mom finally looked at me, but it wasn't the way a mother looks at her son. It was the way a stranger looks at someone they just saw on the news. "I raised you better than this," she whispered, voice cracking. "Mom, I didn't—" "Don't," she snapped, tears already falling. "Just don't. Not tonight." I tried again. "Can anyone just stop for a second and ask for facts? You've heard one side." Jason opened his mouth like he might say something, but Claire jumped in first. "What facts do you need, Rhett? She has a diagnosis. She's been faithful. Do the math." It turned into this twisted tug of war between medical proof and my words. And in that room, my words weren't worth much. I tried to explain about my surgery months ago, about hospital mistakes, about anything that could make sense of this. Every sentence I started got cut in half. Then my mom dropped the line that finished the job. "If you didn't give it to her, then who did?" And just like that, the jury was done with me. If you didn't give it to her, then who did? And just like that, the jury was done with me. Right after my mom said, "If you didn't give it to her, then who did?" My dad finally spoke up. "Everybody needs to calm down," Daniel said, voice low but steady. "We need facts, not emotions." You'd think that would help. It didn't. Marissa spun toward him like he'd just betrayed her too. "So you're calling me a liar now?" Her voice cracked, but loud enough to rattle the windows. "I'm saying we don't have the whole picture yet," he replied. "That's all." The air got thick. No one moved. No one breathed. Marissa turned back to me, eyes red, mascara smeared just enough to sell the part. Her hands were shaking, but her steps were steady as she walked around the table and stopped right in front of me. Up close, I could see every little detail, her chest heaving, her jaw clenched, that look of hurt she weaponized so well. She whispered, just for me, "How could you do this to us?" Before I could even form a word, her hand came up and cracked across my face. The sound echoed in that silent living room. Glass, silverware, conversation, everything had stopped. All that was left was the sting in my cheek, and the burn of knowing everyone had just watched me get publicly executed. and I still didn't know. That slap was nothing compared to the hit she was about to take later. For a few seconds after the slap, nobody moved. My face was on fire, but nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody even looked at me like I could be the one who just got hit. Claire rushed to Marissa, wrapping her up like she was the one who'd been attacked. "You're not staying here with him," she said, shooting me a look like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. My mom was right behind her. "Go with Claire, sweetie. You shouldn't be anywhere near this man tonight." This man. Not my son. Not Rhett. They grabbed Marissa's bag, her coat, her phone. She let herself be led out like some wounded saint, still sniffling, muttering about how could he do this. I just stood there, feet planted, hands at my sides. Nobody touched me. Nobody said, "Rhett, what's your side?" I was a ghost in my own family. Through the front window, I could hear Claire in the driveway calling me every name she could think of while my mom agreed between sobs. When the door finally closed and the house went quiet, it was just me, my dad, and the Christmas lights blinking like nothing had happened. He walked over, put a hand on my shoulder and said, "You need to get tested tomorrow. Get facts." The only lifeline in a room that had already decided I was guilty. Driving home that night felt like driving through a different world. The roads were covered in thin snow, streetlights throwing that dull yellow glow on the asphalt. My cheek still burned where she'd hit me. Every time I stopped at a red light, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. Red mark on my face, dead look in my eyes, some monster heading back to his lair. I walked into our house and it was silent. No TV, no music, no Marissa clacking around in heels, talking about clients and sales numbers. Just the hum of the fridge and the sound of my own breathing. I went to the bathroom, flipped on the light, and stared at myself in the mirror. Same guy, same lines on my forehead, same calloused hands. But now, with one sentence stuck in my head, I have herpes, and I've only been with one man for 15 years. A thought I didn't want showed up anyway. What if I actually have it? From that gallbladder surgery 6 months ago. IV lines, needles, blood draws, hospitals screw up. You hear stories. Another thought followed right behind it. Am I going to die from something I didn't even cause? For the first time that night, I wasn't just scared for my marriage, I was scared for my life. The next morning I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My dad's words kept looping in my head. Get tested. Get facts. So I drove to UC Health Urgent Care on North Nevada like a man heading to court. The waiting room was the same as every clinic. Worn chairs, daytime TV no one was watching. That cold, disinfectant smell that never quite leaves your nose. When the nurse called my name, I followed her back, heart pounding harder than it ever did on a job site. "What brings you in today?" she asked, clicking her pen. I didn't sugarcoat it. "Full STD panel," I said. "I just need peace of mind." She gave me that look, professional but not surprised, like she'd seen 100 guys in the same quiet panic. Blood draw, urine cup, swab, labels, vials, all very routine to them, life-altering to me. When it was over, she peeled off her gloves and said, "Results usually come back in 3 to 5 business days. We'll call you." 3 to 5 days. Might as well have been 3 to 5 years. I nodded, grabbed the little discharge paper, and stood up. "Now we wait," she added. Walking out into the cold parking lot, that was the part that scared me most. The waiting, not knowing if my life had just been permanently rewritten. I thought the scariest answer would come from a lab. I was wrong. The real answer was going to come from a phone call. When I got back from the clinic, I sat in my truck for a minute, just staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed over and over in the cup holder. 5 messages from Marissa. "You owe me for my medical bills. You ruined my life. These meds are expensive, the least you can do is pay. I can't believe you're leaving me alone in this. I need access to your account. This is your responsibility too." Not a single, "Did you get tested?" Not a single, "What if there's another explanation?" Just money, blame, entitlement. It hit me then. She'd already rewritten the story in her head. She was the innocent wife, I was the diseased cheater, and this was just her sending the invoice. The old me would have panicked, started defending myself in long paragraphs, trying to fix what she felt. This version of me just stared at the messages and felt something harden. I typed one reply. Wait for my test results. Then we talk. No emojis, no apologies. And for the first time since Christmas Eve, I stopped feeling like a man on trial and started feeling like a man taking notes for later. I didn't know it yet, but every demand she sent was another piece of evidence against her. Those next few days dragged. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., grab my phone, refresh my email like some addict. Nothing. Close my eyes and my brain would start running the same 2 movies on repeat. Movie 1. The results are positive. I have it. I start thinking about dating in the future, having to disclose it, watching women's faces change. I think about my body, my health, the idea that one mistake, someone else's mistake, put a permanent asterisk on my life. Movie 2. The results are negative. I don't have it, which means there's no way around it. She brought it in. She lied. She stood up in front of my family, slapped me, and tried to bury me with something she knew damn well didn't come from me. Neither movie ends with us working it out. Lying there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, it hit me. Either way, something dies. If I'm positive, a big part of how I see myself is gone. If I'm negative, what's left of my marriage is gone. And that's when the truth finally settled in my gut like a brick. No matter what the results say, my marriage is already dead. I just didn't realize the funeral for my marriage would start with someone else saying my wife's name. A couple days into the waiting, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I let those go to voicemail. That day, for some reason, I picked up. Hello? There was a pause, then a woman's voice, shaky like she'd been crying for hours. Is this Rhett Donovan? Marissa's husband? My stomach dropped. Yeah. Who's this? My name is Emily. Emily Mercer. That last name hit me. Mercer. I'd heard it before. My husband is Dylan. He works with your wife. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She kept going. I just got my test results back, she said. I have herpes. I pressed the phone harder to my ear, heart pounding. I was standing in my own kitchen, but it felt like the floor shifted under me. She took a breath that sounded like it hurt. And I know exactly where I got it. The room got so quiet I could hear the fridge humming. My husband, she said slowly, like each word was a nail, has been sleeping with your wife for 6 months. In that moment, I realized something important. I might still be waiting on my medical results, but I was done waiting on the truth. I leaned against the counter because my legs didn't feel steady anymore. Emily kept talking, voice shaking but weirdly controlled. You could tell she was running on pure anger and fumes. I found a burner phone in our garage, she said. He hid it in an old toolbox. I almost didn't open it. She laughed once, bitter. Should have left it there, but I didn't. She told me about the messages. Marissa and Dylan calling each other baby, joking about conference sleepovers, sending selfies from hotel beds I'd paid for indirectly every time I picked up extra shifts. They didn't even bother being careful, Emily said. Hotel receipts, Uber rides, pictures. It's all there. Dylan tested positive, too. As she talked, every weird moment from the last few months fell into place. The late nights, the sudden showers, the phone glued to her hand. The way she looked absolutely certain when she accused me in front of my family. Of course she was certain. She knew exactly where it came from. There was a long pause on the line, then Emily said quietly, I'm not calling to dump my problems on you. I'm calling because you deserve to know who actually betrayed you. And just like that, any doubt I had left about Marissa died on the spot. After I hung up with Emily, my phone buzzed again. Screenshots. I sat on the couch and opened the first one. It was like getting punched in the chest over and over. Marissa and Dylan texting late at night while I was dead tired from a 12-hour shift. Late meeting ran long. Can't wait to see you at the conference. Same hotel as last time, baby. Hotel confirmations. Room numbers. Wish you were still in my bed. Texts sent on nights she told me she was wiped out from work and went straight to sleep next to me. I scrolled and scrolled, connecting dates and times in my head. All those late pours I was running on site. She wasn't home missing me. She was in some hotel off the interstate with him, on sheets I didn't pay for directly but definitely helped fund. My hand was gripping the phone so hard my knuckles went white. My heart was pounding, but it wasn't that sick, cold fear anymore. That's when it flipped. That's when fear died, and anger took its place. I stared at the screen and said out loud, to no one, "I'm going to make sure everyone sees who she really is." A few days later, there was a hard knock at my front door. I opened it, and there she was. Marissa. No appointment, no warning. Jaw tight, eyes already angry, not broken. Not yet. She brushed past me like she still lived there. "We need to talk about my medical bills," she started. "The meds are insanely expensive. You can't just cut me off and act like this isn't partly on you. You owe me, Rhett." And she was walking through my kitchen, gesturing like a lawyer arguing a case, throwing out phrases like "what you did to me" and "what you owe." I didn't say a word. I just watched her, calm, silent. Something in the room had shifted. This wasn't her stage anymore. She kept going, voice rising. "I'm serious, Rhett. I need access to—" "Sit down, Marissa." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't repeat myself. I just said it once, flat and cold. She actually stopped mid-sentence. For the first time in a long time, she looked unsure. Her eyes searched my face like she was seeing a different man than the one who'd stood there on Christmas Eve, begging to be believed. She sat. And we both knew, in that moment, the power in this house didn't belong to her anymore. She sat there at my kitchen table, still talking about what I owed her, like the last 12 years hadn't just been lit on fire. I pulled my phone out, unlocked it, and opened the folder I'd named Emily. I set it down on the table between us. "I know about Dylan," I said. The color drained from her face so fast it was almost impressive. "What are you talking about?" she muttered. "He's just my boss, Rhett. Don't be—" I tapped the screen. Text messages, hotel confirmations, selfies, pet names, timestamps that lined up perfectly with every late meeting, every conference, every night she'd come home and gone straight to the shower. She picked up the phone, scrolled once, twice, and her whole body seemed to fold in on itself. "There's more," I said. "His test results, your little matching party favor, all nicely documented." Tears started, but they hit different this time. Less performance, more panic. "You didn't just betray me," I told her, voice flat. "You tried to bury me to cover it up. You walked into my parents' house on Christmas and aimed it all at my name, my reputation, so nobody would ever think to look at you." For once, she had no script, just silence, and the truth sitting between us on a cracked phone screen. She finally pushed the phone away like it burned. "Rhett, please, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can—" I held up a hand. I was done letting her steer. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "I'm waiting on my test results. When they come in, everything goes to a lawyer. The screenshots, the Christmas Eve stunt, all of it." She shook her head, tears streaming. No, you don't have to do that. We can handle this between us. We've built a life together. You can't just throw that away." I almost laughed. "You think I'm throwing it away?" I leaned forward. "Whether I'm positive or negative," I said, each word slow, "we're done." She sucked in a breath like I'd hit her. "Don't say that. Don't do this. I made a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated. "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. You had an affair for 6 months and then tried to destroy me in front of my family." She reached for my arm. "Rhett, please." I stood up. "Our marriage ended," I told her, looking her dead in the eye, "the night you slapped me in my parents' living room." Then I said the only word left: "Get out." After "get out," she just stood there, like the words hadn't landed yet. So I walked past her, down the hall, into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and opened the closet. All her dresses, her color-coded hangers, her neat little work outfits lined up like nothing was wrong. I grabbed a stack and yanked. Hangers clattered on the floor. I didn't fold anything. I didn't separate nice from cheap. I went under the sink, pulled out the big black trash bags, and started stuffing her life into them. From the hallway she screamed, "You can't do this! This is my house too!" I tied one bag shut, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "No, this is my house. You're just trash on my property now." Her mouth dropped open, but I was already moving. Bag after bag, clothes, shoes, her 10 different throw pillows, her makeup bag, her hair tools, every artifact of the person who'd turned my home into a stage. I hauled each bag to the front door, then out onto the porch. The thud they made when they hit the concrete was satisfying. "I'm not kicking you out," I told her, grabbing the last bag. "I'm taking my life back." And for once, she had no comeback. By the time the last bag hit the porch, Marissa was standing in the doorway, mascara streaked down her face, hair a mess, breathing hard. She looked less like the polished sales rep everyone admired, and more like the person I'd finally started to see clearly. She glared at me, eyes full of hate and panic mixed together. "I hope you have it too," she spat. "I hope your test comes back positive, so you know how it feels, so you suffer like I am." I let the words hang there for a second, then gave her a cold little smile. "There she is," I said, "the real you." No shouting, no lecture, just naming what was already obvious. I stepped back inside and put my hand on the door. "You need to leave, Marissa." "I hate you," she said, voice cracking. "Good," I answered. "That makes two of us." Then I closed the door. Not a slam, just a firm, final click. I locked the deadbolt. She pounded on it for a while, yelling, crying, demanding I let her back in. I didn't move. Eventually, I heard her car start. Tires squealed as she tore out of the driveway. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a cold soda, sat down, and exhaled, for the first time in a long time, like a man who'd just taken his first real step out of a burning house. The day after I put her bags on the porch, I drove up to Denver to meet a divorce attorney. I walked into her office with a folder thick enough to choke a shredder, screenshots from Emily, call logs, dates, the whole Christmas Eve circus written out in order. I laid everything on the desk. She flipped through it quietly, nodding every so often. Then she looked up and said, "Do you have a prenup?" I pulled out another folder. "Yeah, signed before the wedding." She hated it. My lawyer skimmed it, and this slow smile crept across her face. "Rhett," she said, "you just saved your own life." The agreement was simple. What we brought into the marriage, we keep. Anything joint gets split fairly. And if either spouse cheats, judge gets to factor that in hard. All those years Marissa complained, "You don't trust me, it's unromantic, you're planning for divorce," came flooding back. Back then I'd almost torn it up just to shut her up. Now it was my life raft. My lawyer closed the file and said, calm as anything, "She walks away with almost nothing. That's not you being cruel. That's the consequence of her choices." For the first time in weeks, I felt the ground under my feet again. 5 days after the clinic visit, the email finally hit my inbox while I was sitting in my truck outside a job site. "Your lab results are ready." My hands actually shook a little clicking that link. The PDF loaded slow, like it knew it had power over me. I scrolled down the page line by line. Negative, negative, negative. Every single test. Clean. I leaned back in the seat and just started laughing. Not the happy, light kind. The kind that rips out of you because your body doesn't know whether to cry or scream. So I did both. I sat in that truck with tears in my eyes, cheeks still faintly marked from a slap that now meant absolutely nothing medically. All that fear she'd tried to hang on my neck? Gone. I took a screenshot of the results and sent it to Emily. She replied almost instantly, "Good, now destroy them." Then I forwarded it to my lawyer. Her answer was short but sharp. "Perfect. This just made our case even stronger." I looked at that all-negative line one more time and thought, she didn't just fail as a wife, she failed even at destroying me. Marissa didn't roll over quietly. Of course she didn't. Her lawyer came out swinging, motions to throw out the prenup, claims that I'd pressured her into signing it, arguments that after 12 years she deserved half the house, half my retirement, and a nice monthly alimony check on top. On paper, I was suddenly a controlling, emotionally abusive husband who'd isolated her and forced her into an agreement she didn't understand. If I hadn't lived the truth, I might have believed their version too. It was polished, neat, designed to land right in a judge's sympathy. But then, discovery hit. Emily's case against Dylan was already in motion. Her lawyer had pulled everything: burner phone records, hotel receipts, timelines, the STD diagnosis, even statements from their kids. A lot of that bled into my case whether Marissa liked it or not. My lawyer laid it all out for the judge. The affair, the herpes, the Christmas Eve performance, where she publicly accused me of something my medical tests proved false. I stood there in that courtroom, hands clasped, saying almost nothing. I didn't have to. The judge looked over his glasses at Marissa's side and said, "Your client publicly defamed her husband to hide her own adultery." In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt since this started. Officially, legally, I wasn't the villain anymore. While my divorce was grinding its way through the system, Dylan's life was quietly catching fire too. Emily went scorched earth. She had screenshots, call logs, burner phone data, medical records, the works. When their custody hearing came, their kids, 13 and 15, sat there and told the judge straight, "We don't want to see him. He lied to our mom. He gave her an STD. We don't trust him." You could see it hit him. The guy who'd been so slick in texts suddenly looked very small in a suit that didn't fit right anymore. The judge granted Emily full custody. Dylan got supervised visitation, if the kids agreed. From what Emily later told me, they never did. Then his job went. The pharmaceutical company did their own internal review. Turned out all those client dinners and conference stays with Marissa, expense reports with no clients, just two cheaters billing their dates as business. They cut him loose for ethics violations and fraud. Last I heard, he was in some crappy apartment in Aurora, half the salary, no family, no reputation. And sitting with all that, it hit me. I didn't have to destroy anyone. I just had to stop covering the truth. The consequences took care of the rest. I didn't go digging into Marissa's life after the divorce. I didn't have to. Word travels on its own. Her company did exactly what you'd expect a big pharma outfit to do when lawyers started circling. They ran an internal audit. Those conference hotels and client dinners she and Dylan billed, turned out a lot of those receipts didn't have a single client attached. Just 2 employees, 1 room, 2 meals, no business purpose. HR called her in. From what I heard, the message was simple. Resign quietly with a small severance, or we make this official and legal. She took the quiet exit. The next job she landed was still in sales, but with a 30% pay cut, smaller territory, zero glamour. No more big bonuses, no more fancy dinners she could post on Instagram with captions about grind culture and boss life. Eventually, somebody mentioned she'd moved into a cramped 1-bedroom in a part of town she used to roll her eyes at when we drove by. Her circle shrank too. Some friends sided with her at first, but once pieces of the truth leaked out, bits from my side, bits from Emily's, people started keeping their distance. I didn't feel triumphant hearing it. I just thought, that's exactly where her choices were always going to lead. Once the dust settled a little, there was one thing I still hadn't done. I hadn't laid it all out for my family. So one evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and my phone. I pulled together screenshots from Emily, my clean test results, copies of the legal filings, the timeline. Not to be petty, just facts, start to finish. Then I dropped it all in the family group chat with one line. Here are the facts. Read everything before you respond. It didn't take long. My mom called first, voice already shaking. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I should have believed you. I can't believe what she did. Mom," I cut in, calm. "You believe tears over facts." She went quiet. "I get that you were emotional," I said, "but you didn't even ask for my side. That's what hurt the most. Not that you were worried about her, that you were ready to throw me under the bus without a single question." "I know," she whispered. "You're right. I was wrong. I hope one day you can forgive me." "Maybe," I said, "but not today. I need some time. I don't want to come over and pretend nothing happened." For once, I wasn't the kid trying to make her feel better. I was the man setting the terms. If my mom's call was guilt and tears, Claire's call was pure defense. She rang the next day. No hello. "You can't seriously be mad at us for believing her, Rhett. She seemed so genuine." I let that hang for a second. "You read everything I sent?" "Yes, and it sucks, okay? But that night, she was shaking. She was sobbing. What were we supposed to do? Assume she was lying?" I stared out the window at my own driveway, the same one she'd dragged Marissa down while calling me a monster. "When's the last time," I asked quietly, "you waited for facts instead of picking a side?" Silence. "That's not fair," she snapped. "We reacted to what we saw. She was hurting." "And I wasn't," I said. "She was crying. I was innocent. And you chose the tears." I heard her inhale like she'd been slapped. "You're twisting this. You always—" Click. She hung up. I stood there with the phone still to my ear and realized something important. Some people don't want to learn. They just want to feel right. So I made a decision. Limited contact. Holidays maybe. Surface level only. If you showed me who you are when it mattered, I'd believe that from now on. A couple evenings later, my dad called. "You doing okay, son?" Daniel's voice was steady, like always. No drama, just concern. "I've been better," I said. I told him about Mom's apology, Claire's defensiveness, my decision to keep some distance for a while. He was quiet for a second. "I understand," he said. "For what it's worth, I believed you from the start. I know my son." That hit harder than I expected. Then he took a breath. "There's something I should tell you. I've been talking to a lawyer." I sat up. "For what?" "For divorcing your mother." I didn't say anything. I think I just exhaled. "This isn't about one night," he went on. "Your mom's been like this our whole marriage. If she feels something, that's the truth to her. Facts are optional. I've spent 40 years managing your mother's emotions. I'm done." He said it calm, not angry. Like a man who'd finally put a heavy load down. "Christmas Eve was just the last straw," he added. "Watching her condemn you without a single question? That told me everything I needed to know." I realized then it wasn't just my marriage that died that winter. It was his too. He'd just finally admitted it. The legal stuff didn't drag on forever. It felt like it in the moment, but eventually, the judge signed off, and that was that. The prenup held. Exactly like my lawyer said it would. I kept the house in Colorado Springs. I kept my truck. I kept most of the savings in my retirement. Marissa walked away with her personal belongings and about $8,000 in her own retirement account. No alimony, no lifestyle maintenance. Just what she'd actually brought and what she'd actually earned. After everything, my life got quiet. I started hitting the gym more, not to get revenge fit or anything, just to get my head straight. I went to work, did my job, came home to a house that didn't feel like a stage anymore. I even started therapy, sat in a chair once a week and untangled years of swallowing everything like a man until it almost killed me. My dad moved into a small condo in Scottsdale. Simple, modern, clean. He looked lighter, like someone had taken a weight off his chest. My mom moved in with Claire, and all that drama had a new address that wasn't mine. One night, sitting alone on my couch, no yelling, no chaos, I realized peace isn't loud. It's just the absence of constant crisis. Every now and then, my mind still goes back to that Christmas Eve. The slap, the accusations, my own family looking at me like I was dirt. At first, that memory was just pain, pure humiliation. I'd replay it and feel my stomach twist, thinking, how did I let it get that far? But over time, it started to look different. I realized that night was my point of no return. If Marissa hadn't gone nuclear, hadn't stood up, performed for the room, weaponized her tears, there's a good chance I'd still be in that marriage, still being gaslit, still doubting my own gut while she snuck around with her late nights and conferences. She set fire to my life, but it burned away the wrong people. The wife who'd rather bury me than own her choices. The sister who chose drama over truth. The mother who treated feelings like facts. Was it brutal? Yeah. But it was also clarity. Sitting there one evening thinking about all of it, I caught myself whispering, her worst performance became my best wake-up call. And for the first time, I didn't just feel like a victim of that night. I felt like the man who finally walked out of it with his eyes open. 2 years later, on New Year's Eve, my life looked normal. I was on my couch, game on the TV, a bowl of chips on the table. My dad was in the recliner, half watching, half dozing. No family group chat blowing up, no drama. Just two men who'd been through enough, enjoying the quiet. It was one of those small moments you don't realize you've been starving for until you finally have it. Then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. No parties planned, no neighbors dropping by. I glanced at my dad. He shrugged. I opened the door, and there she was. Marissa. She looked like life had chewed her up. Thinner, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a lazy ponytail that didn't hide how tired her face was. The confident saleswoman act was gone. "Hey," she said, voice small. "Can we talk?" Old me would have moved aside, let her in, tried to fix whatever she was about to dump on me. This version of me just stared for a second, then nodded toward the porch. "On the porch," I said. 5 minutes. Clear boundary, clear clock. If she wanted something from me now, it wasn't going to happen on her terms. The second I closed the door behind us and we were alone on the porch, she cracked. Not a single graceful tear. Full-on ugly crying. Shoulders shaking, breath hitching, words tripping over each other. "I messed everything up," she choked. "I lost the good job, the apartment. They took it back. I'm sleeping in my cousin's spare room in freaking Tempe. I can't keep up with the meds, the bills, the interest. Everything's piling up." She wiped her nose with her sleeve, not even pretending to be composed. "I have no one," she said. "Mom won't talk to me. Claire won't pick up. Everyone knows what happened. Nobody wants to be around me. I'm alone, Rhett." For a second, I just listened. Not out of sympathy, more out of curiosity. I wanted to hear how she told the story when she was the only audience. Then she went where I knew she was always heading. "Please, take me back," she whispered. "We were good together, before I screwed it all up. I'll do anything. I just can't do this alone." And then she actually dropped to her knees on my porch, right there in the cold, in front of the house she once tried to take from me, begging the man she'd tried to destroy to save her. But even at rock bottom, she still didn't understand. This wasn't about saving her. It was about finally choosing me. She was still on her knees when I finally spoke. "Get up, Marissa." She looked up at me like I'd just kicked her. "Please, Rhett, I'm begging you, 12 years. That has to count for something." "It did," I said. "Then you threw it away." She shook her head, tears streaming. "I was scared. I made mistakes. I was stupid, but I'm paying for it now. Isn't that enough? How can you be so cold?" I leaned back against the railing, folded my arms. "I'm not cold," I told her. "I'm just finally choosing myself." She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Maybe she didn't. The old me lived to keep the peace. This version of me had learned something the hard way. "You want the truth?" I said. "Your emergency stopped being my problem the day you chose my reputation as a sacrifice. You didn't just cheat. You walked into my parents' house and tried to kill my name to save yours." She flinched. "I'm not your husband. I'm not your safety net. I'm just the guy who finally stopped letting you burn his life for warmth." I opened the door. "You'll figure it out," I said. "But not here, not with me." When that door closed, it didn't just shut her out of my house. It finally shut her out of my future. She eventually stood up, wiped her face, and walked down the steps. No more speeches. No more bargaining. Her car door slammed, engine turned over, and she pulled away from the curb like she always did. Too fast, like she could outrun the wreckage behind her. The porch felt bigger once she was gone. I went back inside, closed the door, and locked it out of habit. My dad muted the TV and handed me a cold soda from the coffee table like he'd been waiting for this part. "Well," he said, popping his own can, "that looked fun." I snorted, took a long drink. He shook his head. "Some people start the fire," he said, "then complain about the smoke." That line hit right in the center of my chest. I told him what I'd said on the porch, about her emergency not being my problem anymore, about my reputation being where I drew the line. He nodded slowly. "That's the thing, son. Your emergency stopped being my problem," he said, echoing my words back to me, "when you made it your choice." We sat there, two men who'd finally stopped cleaning up other people's messes, clinked our cans together, and said it at the same time, to being off the clock. So if you've made it this far, let me say this straight. This story isn't just about cheating. For men like us, there are 3 things you can't hand over to anybody. Not a wife, not family, not anyone. Your health, your name, and your peace. Your health, because you only get one body, and you're the one who has to live in it. Your name, because once your reputation is trashed, it doesn't matter what the truth is. People remember the story, not the correction. And your peace, because living in constant crisis will drain you faster than any job ever could. Love doesn't mean letting someone burn your life down and then calling it working through it. Love without respect, without truth, is just slow self-destruction. If there's anything you take from my mess, let it be this. Believe facts over tears, even if the tears belong to someone you love, especially then. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. If you've ever been where I was, or you just don't want to end up there, stick around. Follow, subscribe, whatever button they put on this thing, so you don't miss the next story. Because at the end of the day, I didn't ruin her life. She did. I just finally stopped protecting her from the consequences.